So I'd like to go over the eventful session that the Supreme Court has had recently. This might be a bit of a longer video because I'll be bouncing between a couple articles, but I think it's very important to go over them in some detail. So this is from USA Today, Supreme Court cases that shape 2024 and beyond. The Supreme Court wrapped up its term this week and left in its wake historic rulings that expanded presidential immunity, limited federal regulatory authority, curbed prosecutorial discretion, and punted abortion decisions. Despite what was supposed to be a lower key session for the higher courts, which in recent years have issued polarizing decisions, weathered ethics complaints, and seen approval ratings tumble, a conservative supermajority threw out decades of precedent, most notably with regards to administrative law and how the government operates. This is a court that is in a hurry to drastically reshape the law. It's in a hurry to throw out precedents and upset settled laws and make profound and fundamental changes in our law, says Cliff Sloan, Georgetown University law professor who has argued several cases before the Supreme Court. In that case, it's one of the most extreme and radical Supreme Courts we have ever had, and this term really shows it. Two of the most watched cases involve former President Donald Trump. The court in one case ruled he's entitled to some immunity from prosecution, and in another case determined that federal prosecutors handling the January 6th riot at the Capitol improperly charged some defendants, possibly including Trump himself. So I just wanted to switch to this other article for a second to remind you. So this is also USA Today. Supreme Court sides with January 6th rioter in obstruction case. U.S. government overreached when it used an obstruction charge to prosecute hundreds of former presidents, Donald Trump supporters who attacked the Capitol on January 6th, 2021, the Supreme Court ruled on Friday. 6-3 ruling by the justices that prosecutors stretched the obstruction law too far has sweeping implications for the January 6th defendants who have already pleaded guilty or have been convicted of the offense and will likely prompt calls for new trials or lighter sentences. For former President Donald Trump, the ruling wipes out 2 of the 4 criminal charges brought against him by Justice Department Special Counsel Jack Smith, and a federal indictment that accuses him of scheming to overturn the 2020 presidential election results. Government's reading of the obstruction charge, Chief Justice Roberts wrote of the majority, would intrude on that deliberate arrangement of constitutional authority over federal crimes, giving prosecutors broad discretion to seek a 20-year maximum sentence for acts Congress saw fit to punish only with far shorter terms of imprisonment. Specifically, the opinion asserts that in order to provide a violation of the law under the obstruction charge, the government has to show that a defendant physically destroyed or significantly impaired records, documents, and objects used in an official proceeding, or at least attempted to do so. In doing so, the majority reversed the D.C. Circuit, which had adopted a broad reading of the law. It's also sending the case back to the circuit court so that its judges can assess whether the indictments can still stand in this light of narrower interpretation. So basically, since the rioters didn't destroy documents, they didn't disrupt official proceedings, and they can't be considered having committed acts of obstruction of justice. And then 2 charges that Jack Smith was trying to throw at Trump, poof, gone. So the first USA Today article continues. But Sloan contends that the ruling in another case, Lauper Bright Enterprises v. Raimondo, which overturned a 40-year precedent, will actually have more of an impact in everyday America's lives. As a result of the 6-3 ruling, federal agencies will have a diminished ability to regulate the environment and public health, among other issues, and will face more challenges in court. It affects the authority of the agencies that protect our water and air, our food safety, our nuclear safety, the economy, tremendously important government institutions. And the Supreme Court has just gutted the structure that we've been operating under for decades, he said. It basically has shrunk the power of the government agencies and the experts, and has dramatically increased the power of federal judges who have absolutely no expertise in these important matters and complicated areas. So here we have federal judges basically saying, oh yeah, we should have more power and influence. Yeah, we should be the ones deciding some of these regulations regarding air, regarding water, regarding food safety, regarding the economy. We are the ones who should be deciding that, not you, experts in your various agencies. Um, you don't get to decide that. Um, and then the last thing I wanted to mention, um, in regards to homelessness. This is from ABC 12 News. It's kind of a human story, but I think it's important to see the human side of this one. Mid-Michigan homeless community reacts to Supreme Court ruling. The unhoused community in Saginaw is reeling after a major decision from the U.S. Supreme Court. On Friday, the court ruled 6-3 that an Oregon city had not violated the Eighth Amendment, the one against cruel and unusual punishment, by fining people, particularly the homeless, for sleeping on public property. They already look down on us as bad people, and they don't even take the chance to know us, said Rain, a guest at the Mustard Seed Shelter in Saginaw, who previously spoke to ABC 12 on the subject. She believes the Supreme Court majority made the wrong call. It was devastating, she said. We're not homeless because we want to be homeless. Flint attorney Dean Yotis told ABC 12 on Tuesday that the ruling found the cities didn't violate the Eighth Amendment because it was about people's actions. They're not being sanctioned by the state because of their status of being homeless. He explained they're being sanctioned by the state because of their conduct. They don't want to see us outside, she remarked. They don't want to see us in the public areas. Andrew Tillett, a man who has been unhoused for 2 years, said people like him need more shelters and services. Go ahead and try to build day centers, he suggested, or maybe ways around the city to help them stay clean and ahead of that curve. According to Yotis, the cities have to make some serious choices. Mayors, council people, they've had to put together with law enforcement and come up with solutions, said Yotis, particularly in municipalities that do not have enough beds. So, they claim, right, they're not criminalizing homelessness. They're just criminalizing your actions. Oh, you're sleeping in a public park because you have nowhere else to go? Okay, well, we're fining you and kicking you out because you're in that public park, and we don't want you to be there. Public park, government property, we don't want you on our property, go away. That's criminalizing homelessness. That's criminalizing homelessness because these people don't have anywhere to go, right? They don't have anywhere to go. Maybe they can go to shelter for a little bit, but you can't stay in shelters long term, and these shelters are already packed with people. It can be hard to get into these shelters. So you can't stay in public places when you're homeless, but you don't have a home. So what? You just go, keel over and die, I guess. Like, what are people supposed to do in that scenario? They have to. Well, what you should be doing is building more shelters and housing people and giving people maybe $1,000 a month or something to help them get back on their feet. Like, you could be doing these programs to actually help people's lives. Instead, you're saying, we don't care where you go, what you do, not allowed here. You can't be in public places even if you have nowhere else to go. And they said that. They said that in the ruling. So this is just the worst Supreme Court. I don't know if it's the worst. I was going to say the worst Supreme Court in U.S. history, but it's definitely up there among the worst. So saying federal judges, know more about, say, how to have clean air than like experts. So saying federal judges should be regulating things that literally affect everyone's lives. When we've generally relied on more professionalized people to do that. Ruling that, the January 6ers didn't obstruct any official proceedings because they didn't destroy any documents. Ruling that it is not cruel and unusual to prevent homeless people from being in public places when they have nowhere else to go. And then, the one story we've already talked about, how, presidents have official immunity for their official acts, but no immunity for unofficial acts. But of course, what are those official unofficial acts? Nobody really knows. They're gonna have to hammer that out in the courts, further, prolonging Trump's trials, and with the court with the case involving the rioters, basically throwing out 2 charges against him, making their case weaker. So, I mean, this is a longer video. I'm apologize. I'll try to end here pretty much. My roommate's cat is joining us, but this is awful. I mean, this is truly reprehensible. All of these rulings are truly reprehensible on the court's part. And yeah, I mean, Trump did a number on the country by appointing these judges, and he really helped himself, it looks like, in the long run, because maybe he's going to get off a lot easier because of these judges he appointed. So not only are they screwing over American citizens, they're helping Trump. This is legislation from the bench par excellence. I mean, these are activist judges. These are just really all these judges are just pieces of work, and they're setting us back decades, and I don't know what to do about it. There's not really anything to do about it because these justices will be on the court for decades. So this is we're in for a long haul, folks. We're in for a long haul. But if you're able to make it to the end of this video, I really appreciate it.